This is Movietone. Lionel Gamlin reporting. This happy occasion last year was staged in this same theatre, and outside there were similar scenes to those you witness coming in today. Then, as now, the arrival of film personalities and stars aroused the keenest interest and excitement. Among the stars I had the pleasure of greeting in the foyer were Googie Withers and John McCallum, returned especially from their honeymoon.
Well, did you go and see yourselves on the Newsreel after the wedding?
Oh, we certainly did. Yes, we did.
All right,
we loved it. We thought it was wonderful. Thank you very much.
The festival of 1948 gave great pleasure to a huge audience and millions of listeners, as well as initiating a most successful ballot for the best stars and productions of 1947. And this was the sequel, Lord and Lady Rothermere receiving guests at the Dorchester. Among those present were Mr. and Mrs. Arthur Rank, Jean Simmons, Valerie Hobson, Stuart Granger, Patricia Rock, Anna Neagle, Herbert Wilcox and Michael Wilder. All of them there to watch or to take part in the presentation of the awards. Mr. Harold Wilson, President of the Board of Trade, was clearly very happy to be there, and presently he spoke in praise of British pictures.
The British industry has now established itself with such a reputation for quality that all we ask of it is that it maintains that reputation. If it can improve on it, all well and good. But we know now that we need fear no competition from any part of the world.
Last year's winners of the Silver Stars expressed their thanks in happy terms. Margaret Lockwood was heading the poll for the third year in succession.
In 3 simple words, I thank you.
John Mills at that time was in the middle of filming Scott of the Antarctic.
When the Daily Mail organized the award 3 years ago, I thought it was a very sound idea. Now I think it's simply splendid.
And Herbert Wilcox received the trophy for the best picture of the year. Altogether, 2 3/4 million votes were cast in this election. Each year, indeed, the popularity of the contest grows greater. Another contest which achieves further popularity every year is the Sunday Dispatch's bathing beauty competition, staged at Morecambe and Heysham. It's always an outstanding lineup of beauty, but sometimes the weather is not so enchanting. My dear, talk about wind-up. Though a lovely one, it was also a tough job for the judges, Mr. and Mrs. Wilfred Pickles, Mr. Charles Eade, and last year's winner, June Mitchell. They picked number 17, Miss Pamela Bayliss from Northern Ireland. She received a cheque for £500 from the mayor and a silver rose bowl from Mr. Eade, editor of the paper. And then the chairman of the judges, our radio friend Wilfred, thought he'd better have a go.
Ladies and gentlemen of Morecambe, how do? How are you? And then, of course, for the great moment, and that is the winner for the Sunday Dispatch bathing beauty competition held here at Morecambe, and they're all starved to death with such a cold day. Here she is, Pamela Bayliss from Northern Ireland. There you are, love, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
You had to give us a very difficult task, because all the girls were beautiful.
The Duke of Edinburgh attended another event organised by the Sunday Dispatch, the Speedway Riders' Championship at Wembley. Alex Statham, on a bucking bronco, was among the stars of the track who looked like winning at one point. He was victorious in this heat anyway. Over 90,000 Speedway fans were present to enjoy the sport. They saw the hottest of Speedway riders going all out for victory at breakneck speeds with masterly cornering. In fact, there was a thrill a second all the time. The result was a pretty close thing, but Australia's Vic Duggan, the Haringey star, beat the best of them. Here he is, riding to victory. His Royal Highness presented the trophy and a cheque for £200 to the new champion. And here are Vic Duggan, Ron Johnson and Alex Statham, they finished in that order, being taken for a very different kind of ride after it was all over. An innovation in 1948 was the Amateur Gardeners Flower Show, organised by the Evening News at Olympia. Over 3,000 exhibits were entered for the competitive prizes, which were limited to amateurs, though of course many well-known professional growers also exhibited at the show. Mr. Anthony Eden, himself a keen gardener, opened the event, which was highly successful and indeed promises to be in itself a popular, hardy annual.
Hey kids, look at all these toys.
That other venture of the Evening News, Christmas Toys for Sick Children, produced an even greater response this Christmas than last, the staff sacrificing their leisure hours to freshen up toys for the lucky recipients. Here, a van driver dashes off duty to repair a toy motor car. The man on the stone turns from making up the paper to a make and mend job on a toy animal. Gittins finishes his cartoon before doing a spot of brushwork on a wooden horse. Lord Rothermere, with the editor, Mr. Guy Schofield, and Mr. Arthur Fuller, pass down the line of boxes ready for dispatch to hospitals. This delightful scheme is typical of the public-spirited undertakings of all British newspapers throughout the country, and the support which it receives from the people of London and the home counties is obvious. So let's say a kind word to a newspaper editor.
Mr. Schofield, I think Tony would like to say something to you.
I think the readers of the Evening News have done a marvellous job for the sick kiddies this Christmas. I'm sure they'll have a wonderful time. And on their behalf, I'd like to thank you very much.
Thank you, Tony. It's very nice of you to say so. Now, what we have done is merely and delightedly to pass on to the hospitals the thousands and thousands of toys which our generous readers have sent to us. And like you, we can only hope that the children will enjoy their Christmas thoroughly.
In 1948, that long-established enterprise, the Ideal Home Exhibition, was honoured by royal visits. Princess Elizabeth and the Duke of Edinburgh made a thorough tour and spent some time inspecting the cooking section with its labour-saving devices. The model boats also drew their special interest. The exhibition, the biggest thing of its kind in the world, had opened a few days earlier with a visit from the King and Queen, accompanied by Princess Margaret, who were received by Lord and Lady Rothermere. Mr. Ward Price, the famous war correspondent, was among those directors of associated newspapers who had the honour of presentation. The royal party spent nearly 2 hours touring the halls of Olympia and expressed the keenest interest in the show, which His Majesty described as a magnificent achievement. At the village of Town and Country Homes, Mr. Aneurin Bevan was in attendance. With him, their Majesties inspected replicas of houses approved by the Ministry of Health and now being built in various parts of the country. In the section called Playland, over 100 children from London day nurseries were having a splendid time in what they must certainly have thought was an ideal children's home. In a few weeks' time, the 1949 Ideal Home Exhibition will be opening its doors. It promises to be an even greater attraction, if that is possible, than in previous years.